Hello, my name is James Munday, and I'm the Director of Operations for Freedom Declared Foundation. We are a recently launched charity which champions the right of everyone to freedom of thought, conscience, religion, and belief. We provide research, information, educational, and training resources, and are the only UK charity on freedom of religion or belief funded and governed by people of various faiths or those who hold no faith. Joining me today is Professor James Holt, the new chairman of Freedom Declared Foundation. How's your day going today, James?
It's going well, thank you, James. It's been an interesting one, but thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's delighted for you joining me. Um, why is freedom of religion or belief important to you?
That's a really interesting question because I'm trying to remember kind of how long it's been a thing. But obviously, I'm a professor of religious education, so studying religion has been a part of my adult life for the last 30 years since I began university. And throughout all of that time, I've studied religion and I've worked with people of all faiths and none with regards to my work and my teaching, my visits and my interfaith work. Myself, I'm a member of a minority faith within the UK as well. And as I think about, as I used to think about my own experiences, I used to think that they were unique, that maybe the way that I felt at certain events or the way that my faith was treated at certain times was all to do with just my faith and it didn't affect everybody. But actually, over the last 30 years, it's become evident that people of all faith and none are facing challenges both within the UK and abroad as to how they can properly express their faith and live their faith or actually express their non-belief as well. And I think as I've come to realize that it's a human problem and not just the problem of a small minority of people, I think when it was just me or my faith, it was kind of, well, it's one of those things that you live with. But when you recognize that it affects everybody and that people are struggling, so whether that's, for example, the way that Ahmadiyya Muslims are legislated against and treated with in Pakistan, or other communities around the world, you think, I need to be able to stand up and give a voice to the problems that are happening, to the inequalities, to the injustices that are there. And I think there are a lot of religious and belief injustices that are surrounding people throughout the world. And I think as I've realized that I need to look beyond myself over the course of years, then freedom of religion and belief has become far more important, not just so I can live my faith without intrusion, but so that everybody can have their faith fully realized in the way that they live, in the way that they practice, so they're not worried for their lives, they're not worried to be arrested, all of these things that go along with what freedom of religion and belief is. And it's, as I've mentioned, it's for those who have no religion as much as it is for anyone with a religion as well. I know that speaking with people from, for example, Humanists UK, they've talked about issues around the world and in the UK where, because they don't fit neatly into the box of a religion, that actually there's lots of legislation that is implemented that overlooks their needs and the needs of their members as well. So I think it's just well, as it is, it's a universal human right that just needs to be addressed and spoken about in all different areas.
Yes, you mentioned it was a human problem and it is a universal human right. Article 18 of the United Nations Declaration and Article 9 of the European Convention of Human Rights recognises freedom of religion or belief. And you were talking about giving a voice to everyone, regardless of their faith or belief, because of the fundamental importance of the human right. Why do you think Freedom Declared Foundation is the platform to give a voice to these communities?
I think Freedom Declared Foundation is unique in my experience. I can't speak outside of my experience, but in my experience, it's not just focused on the generic idea of freedom of religion and belief around the world. And so, yes, it's important that we stand up for freedom of religion and belief in countries around the world, such as maybe Pakistan or Myanmar and others. and China and all kinds of places, which I think there are lots of charities that are well positioned to do. I think we are very well positioned to do that, and also to focus on freedom of religion and belief within the UK. Because I think if we want to stand up and say we need to, the world needs to do better on freedom of religion and belief and making sure that everybody has that freedom, then I think we first of all need to look internally and think, how are we doing? And I think it's very easy for people in the UK to think, well, I can go to church on a Sunday, or I can go to prayers at the mosque, or I can go to the Gurdwara, or I can do any of those things. So therefore, we have freedom of religion and belief. And I think we do, as you say, it's kind of enshrined in European and UN declarations of rights. But I think if we think that all religions are treated equally, and I think if all we see is that there's positiveness or positivity, we're ignoring the lived reality of religion and belief for lots of people within the UK. So recently, Freedom Declared have done a webinar series where we've talked to people from different faith perspectives and non-belief perspectives as well. And each of them have spoken specifically about events that have happened during the COVID crisis that meant that their faith was overlooked. And while the government have tried to take account of religion and belief in some of the things that they've done it from their own perspective and their own experiences. And so people from religions outside of the norm, if you like, from their perspective, are ignored. So when, for example, the government considered a ban on singing, within a Christian tradition, singing is important, but it's not central. But then we look at Sikhi as an example, and actually worship is singing. It's singing kirtan. And so is there something that can be done there to actually enable people from a Sikh perspective to worship in the way that they can? Or when the suggestions were drawn up that baptisms could continue, the government didn't really consider baptisms that take place by immersion. So it was kind of a lack of religious literacy that led to an ignoring or an overlooking of the freedom of religion and belief. And then if we kind of drill down a little bit more beyond the institutional, we look at the way that sometimes religion is treated by organizations or even by individuals as well. And people sometimes will be fearful for expressing their own religion and be able to live the religion in the way that they would like to do. And so at every level of society, I think there is that need. And I think Freedom Declared Foundation gives us that opportunity to not just look outward, but also to look inward and think, okay, well, before or as part of us trying to speak out for issues around the world, we also need to look at how we're doing and what we can do within the United Kingdom to more fully live up to the freedom of religion and belief enshrined in our laws.
You mentioned the FDF webinars on how the COVID-19 pandemic impacted freedom of religion or belief in the United Kingdom, and how individual experiences felt that the government either overlooked or ignored religious concerns. Do Freedom Declared Foundation have any plans to investigate this in a wider context about how freedom of religion or belief is in the United Kingdom?
Yes, just as background, we have one project already completed, which you can view on the website, which is about the history of freedom of religion and belief since the Magna Carta onwards. And so that's a really interesting exploration, and just about to be published hopefully in the next month, is individual expressions of what freedom of religion and belief means within certain religions. But building on both of those, and as you mentioned, the webinar series, we're just about to begin almost the State of the Nation report, where we're going to be conducting some evidence gathering events where we meet with people from across the religious and political spectrum to interview them and to find out what their experiences have been like this year with regards to freedom of religion and belief, and just get their their lived experience, and so that we can compile a report that says this seems to be where freedom of religion and belief is at in the UK. There's positive things happening. There may well be things that need to be improved as well. And so we're going to put together over the next few months this report based on evidence and based on the way that people are feeling. And I think the ideas for the future beyond that is to pick up some of these themes that come out of these interviews, to develop perhaps a more data-driven report as well, that focuses on instances where freedom of religion and belief are ignored, overlooked, or just blatantly kind of trodden over. So I'm very excited for this report that we're going to be putting together, because one of the nice things, one of the highlights for me of my work with Freedom Declared was the webinar series, where I was able to sit down on one occasion with 3 or 4 people and discuss their experiences. And I think the opportunity to do that on a much wider scale, and we will publish those evidence gathering sessions as well, I think that will be a really good thing to watch, and also to be able to see where freedom of religion and belief is in the UK currently.
Well, thank you, Philip. That sounds very exciting. And thank you for joining us today for this short discussion about Freedom Declared Foundation and where your passion for freedom of religion or belief comes from. You mentioned the Magna Carta report. That is available on our website. And also on our website is the option to sign up to our mailing list, where you can keep up to date with all the projects that James mentioned, the freedom of religion or belief from personal perspectives, the interviews for the State of the Nation report. And I would also recommend subscribing to the YouTube channel, where those interviews will be published as well. So, yes, thank you very much. James, have you got anything else to say?
No, just thank you for having me, and please do all those things James just asked, because we need your involvement in the various projects. So please contact us if we can help with anything, or you feel you can contribute to anything that we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.